"I'm pregnant," Emma said. That was the first thing she said after 10 minutes of sitting across from me in a quiet restaurant downtown, touching the stem of her water glass like she was waiting for a signal. I looked at her plate first. She had ordered salmon, then pushed it around until it looked ruined. She had not taken one real bite. The place was too nice for a Tuesday, too quiet, too full of people speaking low like they were all hiding something. Emma had chosen it. That should have told me enough. I sat back and let the words settle. Pregnant. For half a second, my mind tried to go where it was supposed to go. Husband. Wife. Big news. Shock turning into a strange kind of happiness. Maybe fear. Maybe a nervous laugh. I waited for that normal moment to show up. It never did. Emma's face stayed calm. Then she said, "But it's not yours." The room did not go silent. That was the strange part. Forks still touched plates. A waiter still laughed softly near the bar. Someone behind me asked for more wine. Everything kept moving while my life, at least the version I knew, stopped right in front of me. I kept my hands on the table. "What did you say?" She breathed in through her nose, like she had practiced that too. "It's not yours, Matthew." I looked at her. Really looked at her. Her hair was done, her makeup clean, her sweater the blue one she wore when she wanted to look soft. But her eyes were not soft. They were steady. "Whose is it?" She glanced down once, then back up. "His name is Julian." I nodded slowly, because if I moved too fast, I knew I might do something she expected. Raise my voice. Knock over a glass. Give everyone in that restaurant a show. "Julian," I said. "From where?" "My vacation." The word landed wrong. Vacation. Like she had gone hiking and brought back a souvenir. "You mean the trip with Tara?" "She left early." "You know that." "No," I said. "I knew she came back early." "I didn't know you stayed there with a man named Julian." Emma's mouth tightened. "It wasn't like that." I almost laughed, but it came out as air through my nose. "Then explain what it was like." She folded her hands in front of her plate. That small movement told me more than her words. She was not confessing. She was presenting. "I met him at the resort. We talked. Things were already hard between us, Matthew. You know they were. Don't start there." "I'm just saying." "No," I said, still quiet. "Start with what happened." "Plain." She looked annoyed for the first time, like I had interrupted a speech. "We spent time together. One thing led to another." I stared at her. "You were with him." Her jaw shifted. "Yes." "And you came home." "Yes." "And now you're pregnant." "Yes." "And you knew there was a chance it was his." "I knew," she said. That was the first answer that sounded honest. Not sorry. Not broken. Just honest, because the fact could not be dodged. I looked down at my untouched steak. It suddenly felt ridiculous that a waiter had asked me how I wanted it cooked. Like any of that mattered. "How long have you known?" "A little over 2 weeks." 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, she had slept in our house. Used our bathroom. Kissed my cheek before leaving for work. Asked me to pick up coffee creamer. Watched TV beside me with a blanket over her knees. And the whole time, she knew. "You waited 2 weeks to tell me." I needed to think. About how to say it. About what comes next. There it was. Not what she had done. Not what it meant. What comes next? I leaned back farther and looked around the restaurant. I understood the place now. Quiet. Polite. Expensive enough that nobody wanted a scene. Emma had picked a room where I would look bad if I reacted like a man who had just been hit in the chest. What comes next? I repeated. She nodded, almost relieved we had reached that part. I'm keeping the baby. I did not answer. And I think we should stay married. I looked back at her. You think what? I think we should stay married, she said again, firmer this time. We have a life. A home. Your business is tied into everything. Our accounts, our plans. We don't have to destroy all of that because of one mistake. One mistake, I said. She flinched a little, but not much. I know you're hurt. Don't tell me what I am. Fine. I know this is hard. No, I said. Hard as a pipe bursting in the basement. Hard as a bad month at work. You came home pregnant by another man and invited me to dinner to tell me I should raise the child with you. Her eyes sharpened. You don't have to say it like that. That is exactly what you said. I'm saying there's a practical way forward. That word did something to me. Practical. Like she was discussing insurance. Like I was a line item. I lowered my voice even more. And if I don't want your practical way forward? She held my stare. Then we go through divorce. And you know how that can get. I waited. She kept going. The house is marital property. The savings too. The business grew during the marriage. You can act angry right now, but when lawyers get involved, it won't be simple. It won't be clean. You could lose half of everything. There was no shake in her voice. No tears. No panic. Just numbers. That was when the real shock hit me. Not Julian. Not the pregnancy. Not even the fact that she had hidden it for 2 weeks. It was that she had already counted what I might lose. Is any house worth living a lie? What would you do in my shoes? Write your thoughts in the comments. You talked to someone, I said. She looked away for the first time. Emma. I got advice. Legal advice. I wanted to understand my options. I nodded, staring at the candle between us. There it was. She had not come to confess. She had come to corner me. You planned this dinner, I said. I wanted us to talk calmly. No. You wanted witnesses. Her face changed just a little. That's not fair. I pulled out my wallet. Fair left this table before I sat down. Matthew, don't do this. I put cash beside my plate. More than enough for both meals. My hand was steady, which surprised me. She reached across the table, but I moved my hand back before she touched me. You're emotional right now, she said. Walk out that door and you're choosing the hard way. I stood up. A couple at the next table glanced over, then quickly looked down. Emma noticed. Of course she noticed. Her voice softened. Please sit down. I looked at the woman I had married. I remembered her laughing in my truck 3 summers earlier, feet on the dash, eating fries from a paper bag. I remembered believing I understood her. That felt like something from another man's life. There isn't an easy way anymore, I said. Her face tightened. So that's it? No, I said. That's the first honest thing tonight. I walked out before she could answer. The night air felt cold against my face. Downtown traffic moved slowly past the curb, headlights sliding over wet pavement from an earlier rain. I stood there with my keys in my hand, breathing like I had just carried something heavy up a flight of stairs. Behind me, inside that restaurant, Emma was probably still sitting straight in her chair, already deciding how to describe this later. Matthew walked out. Matthew refused to talk. Matthew abandoned me. Let her start. I looked through the window once. She was not crying. She was on her phone. That told me enough. I turned away and walked to my truck with 2 things clear in my head. I was not going to raise Julian's child. And I was not going to let Emma take my life apart just because she thought she had trapped me. I didn't go home. I drove past our street without slowing down, even though my hands turned the wheel like they wanted to do it out of habit. The porch light would be on. Emma always left it on when we went out together, like the house was waiting for us to return as the same two people who had left. I kept driving. My brother Daniel lived 20 minutes away in a small brick place on the edge of town. He opened the door wearing sweatpants and an old college hoodie, holding a bowl of cereal like I had interrupted the most serious part of his night. Then he saw my face. What happened? I stepped inside and shut the door behind me. Do you have coffee? It's almost 10. Then make it strong. He didn't ask again until we were in his kitchen. Daniel had always been good like that. He worked around legal offices, not as a lawyer, but close enough to know when a person needed facts before comfort. He put the coffee on, leaned against the counter, and waited. I told him everything in the plainest way I could. Emma's pregnant. The baby isn't mine. She met a guy named Julian on that vacation. She's keeping it. She wants me to stay married and raise it with her. If I don't, she says I could lose the house, the business, the accounts. Daniel didn't move for a few seconds. Then he set his cereal bowl down. She said that? Almost exactly. At dinner? Quiet restaurant. Nice place. Public enough that I'd look like the problem if I reacted. He rubbed both hands over his face. Matthew. I know. No, listen to me. He pointed at the chair across from him. Sit down. I sat. Daniel started pacing the kitchen, which was how I knew he was angry. He didn't yell. He moved. She didn't just tell you. She staged it. That's what I thought. Did she mention a lawyer? She said she got advice. He stopped pacing. Then she's ahead of you. Those words hit hard because I already knew they were true. Daniel leaned both hands on the table. You can't handle this like a husband tonight. You have to handle it like someone protecting himself. No long arguments. No angry texts. No showing up and saying things she can twist later. I looked at the coffee maker dripping slow into the pot. She thinks I'll fold. Then don't fold. But don't be stupid either. I'm trying not to be. You need proof, he said. Not feelings. Proof of what she said, proof she knew, proof she tried to pressure you. Anything showing this wasn't some messy mistake she's suddenly sorry for. I laughed once, dry and short. She's not sorry. Daniel's mouth tightened. Then be careful. I drank the coffee when it was ready, even though it burned my tongue. Daniel offered me the couch. I almost took it. I was tired in a way that didn't feel like sleep would fix. But around midnight, my phone buzzed. Emma. Where are you? I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Then another message. We need to talk when you're calmer. Daniel looked over my shoulder. Don't answer. I'm not. A third message came in. I'm going to Tara's tonight. Please don't make this worse. That one made me sit up. She's leaving the house, I said. Daniel's eyes narrowed. For how long? I don't know. He looked at me for a long second. Get what you need. Documents. Business papers. Account records. Anything personal you don't want disappearing. I stood up. And Matthew? I looked back. If you find anything, don't get dramatic. Save it clean. Send it somewhere safe. The drive home felt different from any drive I had ever taken. The roads were nearly empty, traffic lights blinking over dark intersections. I kept expecting anger to come roaring back, but it didn't. There was something colder in me now. Something focused. When I pulled into the driveway, Emma's car was gone. The house looked normal from the outside. Same white porch rail, same planter by the steps, same front window with the curtains half open. But when I stepped inside, it felt like a house that had already been practiced for a separation. Her shoes were missing from the mat. The mail tray by the door had been cleaned out. In the bedroom, 2 drawers in her dresser were almost empty. Not fully, just enough that someone could say she had only packed a few things. Half the closet looked rearranged. A suitcase was gone from the top shelf. I stood there staring at the empty space where it had been. She had started preparing before she told me. That should have hurt more. Instead, it confirmed something. Emma had not walked into that restaurant hoping I would forgive her. She had walked in with a plan A and plan B. On the desk in the spare room, her laptop was still there. I stared at it for a long moment. I knew the password. She knew mine too. We had never treated those things like locked rooms. Not until tonight. My hands felt stiff when I opened it. The screen lit up and asked for the password. I typed it in. It worked. For a second, I almost shut it. Then I remembered her sitting across from me, calm as glass, telling me what I could lose. I searched Julian. The name came up in messages. There were more than I expected. I didn't read fast. I forced myself to slow down because every line mattered. Emma had not met Julian once and then panicked. They had been talking after she came home. Not every minute, not sweet love notes exactly, but enough. Enough to show comfort. Enough to show planning. One message from Julian said, "So when are you telling him?" Emma answered, "After I know for sure." Julian replied, "And if he loses it?" She wrote, "He won't. Not in public." I felt my throat tighten. Another thread came days later. "Julian, you said he has too much tied up in the house and company." Emma, "He does. That's why he'll think before blowing everything up." Julian, "You think he'll stay?" Emma, "He likes stability. He'll hate it, but he'll see the practical side." There was that word again. Practical. I took pictures with my phone. Then I forwarded copies to a new email folder Daniel had told me to make years ago for business records. I downloaded the thread as best I could. Screenshots. Dates. Names. Anything that showed the timing. Then I found one more message. Julian had written, "Just don't let him make you feel guilty. If he was smarter, he'd understand this can still work for everyone." Emma's answer was short. "He will, once he realizes what divorce costs." I sat back in the chair. There it was. Not my imagination. Not hurt feelings. Not me making her colder than she really was. She had counted on money doing what honesty couldn't. I closed the laptop and moved through the house with a quiet I didn't recognize in myself. I took the deed folder from the filing cabinet, copies of tax records, business formation papers, account summaries, insurance files, and the small hard drive from my office drawer. I didn't empty the house. I didn't damage anything. I didn't leave a note. Before I walked out, I stood in the kitchen. 2 mugs were still in the sink from that morning. Mine had black coffee stains. Hers had lipstick on the rim. That small thing almost got me. Not the restaurant. Not the messages. The mugs. Then my phone buzzed again. "Emma, we should meet tomorrow. Somewhere calm. I don't want this to become ugly." I looked around the kitchen that had already been half cleared behind my back. "It already is," I said out loud. I left. The next morning, she chose a coffee shop near the river. Less formal than the restaurant, but still public. I got there early and placed my phone face down on the table, recording before she walked in. She arrived in a beige coat, hair tied back, no makeup this time. That was part of the new version. Softer. Tired. Reasonable. She sat across from me and sighed. "Yesterday was awful. I didn't answer. I think we both reacted badly. That almost made me smile. We both. You walked out. You told me to raise another man's child or risk losing everything I built. Her eyes flicked around the coffee shop. Keep your voice down. My voice is down. She leaned closer. I was scared. I didn't say everything right. I'm trying to fix this. What are you trying to fix, Emma? Our life. I watched her. With Julian's baby in it. Her face hardened, then softened again like she had caught herself. This child doesn't have to be a punishment. It has a father. She swallowed. You're being cruel. No, I said. I'm being accurate. She started another speech then. About marriage. About mistakes. About how people survive things if they choose to. I let her talk. I let every calm, careful sentence stack up on the recording. Then I unlocked my phone, opened the screenshots, and slid it across the table. She looked down. For the first time since she said she was pregnant, Emma's face changed for real. The color left her cheeks. Where did you get these? Your laptop. That's private. So was my life. She scrolled with her thumb, too fast, then stopped on the message about what divorce would cost. That's not what it looks like, she said. It looks like planning because it is planning. You're taking pieces out of context. Then give me the context where Julian says I'll fold once I know what I could lose. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. I took my phone back. The child has a father, I said. It isn't me. The marriage is going to court. Her eyes filled then, but even that felt late. You're throwing everything away. I stood up and put my chair back under the table. No, Emma. You already did. I walked out while she was still sitting there, one hand pressed flat against the table. Outside, I checked my phone. The recording was saved. Now I had her words from the restaurant in my memory, her messages in my hand, and her voice from that morning stored where she couldn't smooth it over later. For the first time since she said Julian's name, I felt the ground under my feet again. The first call came from a contractor named Vince. He had done work for my company for years. Drywall, framing, quick repairs when a client needed something fixed before inspection. Vince was not a gossip. He was the kind of guy who answered the phone with, "Yeah," and ended calls before you knew they were over. So when he called me the next afternoon and didn't get straight to business, I knew something was wrong. "Matt," he said, "careful. Everything okay with you?" I was standing in my office, looking at 3 invoices spread across my desk. I already had the messages printed and sealed in a folder under my arm, because Daniel had told me not to walk around with everything only on my phone. "What do you mean?" He cleared his throat. I ran into Emma at the pharmacy. She seemed upset. I looked out the window at the parking lot. What did she say? Nothing direct. Vince. He sighed. She said things at home had been bad for a while. Said you'd been cold. Angry. Said she didn't know who she was living with anymore. I closed my eyes for 1 second. There it was. She said that. Not exactly like that, maybe. I'm not trying to get in the middle. I know. She made it sound like people should be careful around you. That part made my hand tighten around the phone. Not because it was clever. Because it was predictable. Emma had lost control of the private version, so now she was building a public one. If I became the distant husband, the angry husband, the unstable husband, then suddenly what she did looked less like a choice and more like a reaction. Suddenly people would start saying, well, there are 2 sides. I kept my voice even. Vince, I'm going to say this once. Emma came home from vacation pregnant by another man. She told me to stay married and raise the child, or divorce could cost me the house, the business, and the accounts. I have messages and a recording. That's what happened. He went quiet. Man. I'm not asking you to take sides. I'm asking you not to carry a story you haven't checked. I didn't know. I figured. He breathed out. I'm sorry, Matt. Just keep business. You got it. When we hung up, I sat down slowly. I should have been shocked. I wasn't. The restaurant had shown me who she was when she felt prepared. The laptop had shown me who she was when she thought I wasn't watching. Now I was seeing who she became when the plans started slipping. My phone buzzed again 10 minutes later. This time it was Monica, one of Emma's friends. We need to talk. What you're doing to her is cruel. I stared at the screen and almost ignored it. Then I thought about Daniel's warning. Silence gives other people room to decorate. So I called her. Monica answered fast, like she had been waiting with her finger over the button. Matthew, seriously, what is wrong with you? Careful, I said. She is pregnant and terrified, and you're acting like some cold stranger. Did she tell you who the father is? Monica stopped. What? Did she tell you the baby isn't mine? No answer. Did she tell you she met Julian on vacation? Matthew, I don't know what she told you, but... Did she tell you she told him I'd fold once I realized what divorce could cost? Monica's breathing changed. She said you were twisting things. I have the messages. That's private. That's your concern. She didn't answer that. I stood and walked to the office door, then shut it. Monica, listen clearly. I'm not yelling. I'm not threatening anyone. But if you repeat that I'm unstable, frightening, or anything close to that, and this goes to court with proof that Emma lied, you're going to look like someone helping spread it. That sounds like a threat. It's a warning. There's a difference. She's my friend. Then tell your friend to stop using people as cover. I ended the call before she could turn it into another circle. After that, I made a list. Clients. Suppliers. 2 lenders. 3 mutual friends who loved knowing everybody's situation. My office manager, Paula. Anyone whose opinion could touch my business or my name. I called them one by one. I did not rant. I did not explain my feelings. I said the same thing each time. Emma and I are separating. She came home from a trip pregnant by someone else. I have proof of the timeline and proof she tried to pressure me financially. I'm handling it legally. Anything else you hear should be treated carefully. Some people went silent. Some apologized. Some acted like they had not heard anything, even though I could tell they had. That was fine. I wasn't calling for comfort. I was cutting the wires before she could wrap them around me. By late afternoon, my voice was flat from repeating the same facts. Daniel drove me to the lawyer because he said I looked like a man who might forget where he parked. The office was on the 3rd floor of a plain building near the courthouse. No marble, no dramatic view, just gray carpet, old magazines, and a receptionist who had probably seen every version of a ruined marriage. The lawyer's name was Rebecca Lawson. She wore thin glasses, asked short questions, and did not waste expressions. I gave her the printed messages, a timeline I had written at Daniel's kitchen table, the recording from the coffee shop, and notes from the restaurant conversation while it was still fresh. She read for a long time. I watched her face. It barely moved. Finally, she took off her glasses. She knew before she told you. Yes. She discussed your likely response with this Julian. Yes. She made financial loss part of the pressure. Yes. And the child is not yours. That's what she told me. Rebecca tapped the page once with her pen. This is not just a marriage ending because someone made a bad choice. This shows planning, pressure, and an attempt to push you into accepting a legal and financial role based on facts she already knew were false. Hearing someone say it that cleanly made my chest loosen for the first time in days. What do we do? We file divorce, asset protection, formal challenge to any claim that you are responsible for the child. We keep every message, every date, every recording, and every interaction clean from this point on. Clean how? No insults. No late-night texts. No meetings alone unless you record legally or have a witness. She is already trying to shape the story. Do not help her. I nodded. Rebecca looked at me over the top of the folder. And Matthew? Yeah. She may get scared when she realizes you are not reacting emotionally. Scared people offer peace when control fails. Don't confuse that with honesty. 2 days later, Emma was served. I heard about it from Daniel first because Emma called him screaming before she called me. He didn't answer, but she left a message long enough for him to send me only one sentence. She knows you filed. An hour after that, Rebecca called. Emma's attorney reached out. That was fast. It usually is when someone wants quiet. I stood in my office after everyone had gone home. The lights over the drafting table buzzed softly. What are they offering? A clean settlement. She walks away from much of the property fight. You keep control of the business. But they want a confidentiality agreement. No public discussion. No sharing messages. No statements to mutual contacts beyond saying it was private and resolved. I looked down at the folder on my desk. So she wants silence. She wants containment. Because the plan failed. Rebecca paused. That would be my read. I thought about the restaurant. Her calm hands. Her untouched plate. Her saying I liked stability like that was a weakness she could use. I thought about the messages. Julian calling me a man who would fold. Emma agreeing because she believed I would choose comfort over myself. She had a chance to be honest, I said. Yes. She chose control. She did. Then no. Rebecca didn't argue. I'll tell them. After we hung up, I stayed in the office until the building went quiet. I spread everything across my desk again. Dates. Screenshots. Notes. Call logs. The recording file backed up twice. I went through it all slowly, checking for gaps, checking for anything they could twist. Outside, the parking lot lights clicked on. My reflection looked back at me from the dark window, tired and older than I felt a week ago. But steady. Emma had tried to make this about who could tell the better story. Now it was about proof. And proof did not care how calm she looked in a restaurant. The courthouse was quieter than I expected. I don't know why I thought it would feel bigger. Maybe because everything leading up to it had felt heavy. The restaurant. Daniel's kitchen. The laptop. The calls. The lawyer's office. All of it had carried this pressure, like the whole thing was moving toward some loud final scene. But the hallway outside the hearing room was plain. Beige walls. Scuffed floors. A vending machine humming near the elevators. People walked past holding folders, looking tired, like everyone there had brought some private mess into the same building. Emma sat on a bench across from me with her lawyer beside her. She had dressed carefully. Dark coat, simple earrings, hair pinned back. She looked composed from a distance. Anyone walking by might have thought she was calm. I knew better. Her hands kept moving. She would fold them, unfold them, touch the edge of her sleeve, then look down at her phone without really reading anything. When she noticed me watching, she stopped and lifted her chin. I looked away first. Not because I was afraid of her. Because I didn't need to give her anything. Rebecca sat beside me with the folder on her lap. Keep answers short, she said. No speeches. I know. And do not react if her lawyer tries to make this sound like a sad misunderstanding. I looked over at Emma again. It wasn't. No, Rebecca said. And that's why we're here. Inside, the room felt even smaller than I imagined. No drama. No audience waiting for some big moment. Just tables, chairs, files, and a judge who looked like he had no patience for anyone wasting his morning. Emma kept her eyes forward. I did the same. Rebecca started clean. That was her way. She did not attack. She did not raise her voice. She built the whole thing like she was setting blocks on a table. First, the trip. Dates. Emma leaving town. Tara returning early. Emma staying behind. Then the pregnancy timeline. Then Julian. Then the messages. I watched Emma's lawyer shift slightly when Rebecca read the first one out loud. Not with drama. Just enough to show timing. Emma telling Julian she would wait until she knew for sure. Julian asking how I would react. Emma saying I would not lose control in public. Emma looked down. Rebecca moved to the next page. The messages about the house. The business. The accounts. Emma telling me I was throwing everything away. Emma never denying what the messages showed, only trying to soften them. The judge listened without expression. When it was Emma's turn, her lawyer did exactly what Rebecca said he would do. He talked about stress. Confusion. A marriage under pressure. A woman trying to preserve stability in a difficult moment. He said people say things poorly when scared. He said private messages should not be treated like formal plans. The judge let him finish. Then he looked at Emma. Are the messages real? Emma's lawyer leaned toward her, but the judge kept his eyes on her. She swallowed. Yes. Did you know, before telling your husband, that the child was likely not his? Her lips pressed together. Yes. Did you discuss with Julian how your husband might respond? Yes, but... Did you tell your husband that staying married and raising the child was the better path? She glanced at me once. Yes. Did you connect refusal with financial consequences in divorce? Her lawyer shifted again. Emma's voice got smaller. I explained what could happen. The judge looked down at the papers, then back up. That was not my question. The room went still. Emma's eyes filled, but she held them back. Yes. There it was. No smooth wording. No public table. No careful sweater. Just yes. I did not feel happy. That surprised me. I had thought maybe the truth landing would feel like winning. It didn't. It felt like finally setting down something sharp I had been carrying by the blade. The ruling came later that afternoon. It was not everything in the world. It was not some movie ending where one person walks out with nothing and the other walks out shining. Real life is messier and duller than that. But it was enough. More than enough. The judge protected my main assets. I kept primary ownership of the house. I kept control of the business. The accounts were divided in a way that did not reward the pressure campaign she had tried to run. Any claim tying me to the child was shut down before it could grow teeth. Rebecca touched my arm once when it was over. You got what you needed. I nodded, but I couldn't speak right away. Emma stood on the other side of the room, staring at the table like she still expected someone to fix it for her. Nobody did. Outside the courthouse, the air was cold and clean. I walked down the steps with Rebecca beside me, and Daniel waiting near the sidewalk with his hands in his jacket pockets. Before I reached him, I heard her. Matthew. I stopped. Rebecca's eyes warned me not to, but I turned anyway. Emma stood a few steps behind me. Her lawyer was gone. For the first time since that dinner, she looked small. Not innocent. Not helpless. Just smaller than the version of herself she had tried to sell me. You didn't have to do it like this, she said. I looked at her. You could have ended it quietly. That almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny. Because even at the end, she was still asking for the one thing she had tried to take from me. Control. You should have started honestly, I said. Her face twisted. I was scared. No. You were prepared. She looked down. I ended it correctly, I said. Then I walked away. Daniel didn't ask if I was okay. He just opened the passenger door of his truck and waited. I shook my head. I'm going to drive myself. He studied me for a second, then nodded. Call me later. I will. I didn't go home right away. I drove to a small diner near the highway, the kind of place with cracked red seats and coffee that tasted burned no matter how much sugar people poured into it. I ordered mine black and sat in a booth by the window. For the first time in months, nobody needed anything from me. No lawyer. No message. No story to correct. No careful answer. Just coffee, traffic outside, and my hands wrapped around the mug. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. You ruined my life. Was it worth it? I stared at the words. Maybe it was Emma. Maybe Julian. Maybe one of her friends using a new number. It didn't matter. I typed one reply. You did that yourself. I just made it official. Then I blocked the number. No second message. No argument. No last speech. I paid for the coffee and left a few dollars under the mug. The drive home was quiet. The sky had gone gray, and the neighborhood looked the same as it always had. Same trees. Same driveways. Same house waiting at the end of the street. Only now it was not ours. It was mine. I parked in the driveway and sat there for a moment with the engine off. The porch light was on again, but this time it didn't feel like it was waiting for two people. It was just a light. Nothing more. I knew Emma kept the pregnancy. I heard later that Julian did not become the steady man she thought he would be. Maybe that surprised her. It didn't surprise me. But that was not my life anymore. I had not raised another man's child. I had not paid for someone else's choices. I had not let a forced choice become my future. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The house was quiet. Empty, yes. But free.